Hello, welcome, compliment of the season, and finally, the year 2024 is finally here with a lot of optimism. Thank you for joining us. I am Frank Omalape. Here's what coming up on Business Week. The Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited has asked Nigerians to disregard rumors of an increase in the pump price of petrol, says there is no imminent increase in the cost of petrol. And plus, more women emerge as beneficiaries of the Livelihood Improvement Family Enterprises Project for the Niger Delta Live End Project. And finally, outside Nigeria, unemployed people in Germany increased by 191,000 to 2.6 million in 2023 compared to the previous year. This is according to the latest figures from the Labour Office. Of this and many more, what to expect on the show today. Please stay with us. And thank you, everyone, for joining us. Let's begin with the major stories that made headlines in the week. The federal government has announced that it is currently reviewing the implementation process for a cost-reflective electricity tariff, but stated that it will continue to subsidize power supply for vulnerable citizens in Nigeria. It also said it will unbundle the Transmission Company of Nigeria by separating transmission services from system and market operations in the first quarter of this year. The Minister of Power, Mr. Adelabu, says a statement issued by the Federal Ministry of Power in Abuja and said in a medium to long term, Nigeria's power transmission grid will be separated into regional grids to enable effective management. The power distribution companies denied report of electricity tariff hikes beginning from January 1, 2024, stressing that Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission had no issue or had not issued any directive. Away from there now, the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited says there is no imminent increase in the cost of premium motor spirit, popularly called petrol. The NPC Limited, in a statement by Chief Corporate Communications Officer Mr. Olufemi Shoneye, urged Nigerians to disregard unfounded rumors of an increase in the pump price of petrol. Mr. Shoneye assured Nigerians that there were no plans for an upward review of the price of petrol, while advising motorists nationwide against engaging in panic buying, as there is presently ample availability of petrol across the country. There have been reports in some sections of the media that few marketers under the aegis of the Independent Petroleum Marketers Association of Nigeria, IPMAN, clash with the NNPC Limited over payment of subsidy. And still in the course of the week, the Livelihood Improvement Family Enterprises Project for the Niger Delta Live End has impacted more than 15,000 farmers in the Niger Delta. The Life End Project is an initiative of the federal government in collaboration with the International Fund for Agricultural Development, IFAD, and other stakeholders to ensure sustainable agricultural development in the region. Lara Folanyo has details.
Many women now involved in the trade of breeding and processing catfish in the Niger Delta region are beneficiaries of the Livelihood Improvement Family Enterprises Project for the Niger Delta Life End Project. They say the benefits derived from this initiative are so immense.
My life turned around from that program, because what I didn't imagine that I would do or I can go on, everything was just happening fast. My pond is there. I can see my fish.
The Life End Project is an initiative of the federal government in collaboration with the International Fund for Agricultural Development, IFAD, and other stakeholders to ensure sustainability in agriculture within the region. No fewer than 15,000 farmers have benefited across the 6 Niger Delta states where it has been introduced. More than $20 million have also been injected into the rural economies through this intervention.
To check youth unrest among the 9 Niger Delta states, also promote employment, and overall promote rural economy via agripreneur and agribusinesses. And is fashioned after the model of incubation, the incubation model.
The Niger Delta Development Commission, NDDC, as well as the state governments in the Niger Delta region are part of the process to ensure better agricultural practices and improved income, as well as job creation for the local people.
With fire with gas, using the hybrid kiln, differs from the one from even charcoal and firewood. So likewise, across all the communities, the project is using sustainable and practicable technologies, farm technologies, to support them in their various enterprise. So, and we are still doing more.
Abia, Bayelsa, Cross River, Delta, Edo, and Ondo states are states participating in the project. Imo, Rivers, and Akwa Ibom have yet to join. The project targets 7 commodities, including cassava, rice, plantain, oil palm, cocoa, poultry, as well as fishery. Lara Polayo, TVC News, Abuja.
And still in the course of the week, the Federal Competition and Consumer Protection Commission, FCCPC, is building the capabilities of young people in business education. According to the Commission, this is aimed at equipping them with needed skills and the process. Here again is Lara Folanyo's report.
Internet/online banking.
These young people participated in the Federal Competition and Consumer Protection Council's Young Consumer Contest competition. The competition is one of the many programs of the agency to sensitize citizens on their rights as consumers. Winners have now emerged, which the Consumer Protection Authority say their win is well deserved. They see this as an opportunity to develop young people's skills in the area of business as a means to grooming them to be self-employed as well as job and wealth creators.
Correct answer. Please come out. Thank you very much for clapping.
I'm sure the students here can tell you the many questions their parents had and their anxieties about letting them go. True or false, young people? And so it is an incredible sacrifice.
This is coming against the backdrop of the future belonging to the younger generation and the older generation not being very technology savvy. The thinking here is also that with artificial intelligence gradually taking over jobs that are ordinarily being done by humans, the country needs to be better engaged with digital technology.
There are hardly any professions in the world when people are on a daily basis, by their effort, by their desire, by their ambition, toiling and pouring themselves into others who they are hoping will be greater than them.
So we want to, digital finance is the in thing now globally. The whole world is moving into digital trading. So we want also the younger ones to be abreast with this new innovation.
Over 1,200 entries were received from young people across the country for the National Young Consumer Contest competition. 800 of these were from primary and secondary school students, while 400 came from university students. Lara Polayo, TVC News, Abuja.
Away from there now, latest figures from the Labour Office shows that number of unemployed people in Germany increased by 191,000 to 2.6 million in 2023 compared to the previous year, the lowest since German reunification. The Federal Employment Agency said the number of people out of work increased by 5,000 in seasonally adjusted terms to 2.7 million as jobless rate grew slightly in December to 5.9%. A chairwoman of the agency, Ms. Andrea Nally, says labor market is still holding up well in terms of the extent of the burdens and uncertainties. And our Eurozone factories ended 2023 on the back foot with activities contracting in December for the 18th straight month. According to S&P Global, Manufacturing Purchasing Managers Index nudged up to 44.4 in December from November's 44.2, but remained firmly below the 50 mark, separating growth in activity from contraction. While index measuring output, which fits into a composite PMI, dipped to 44.4 from November's final reading of 44.6. The chief economist at Hamburg Commercial Bank, Mr. Cyrus de la Rubia, said this trend points to contraction in Eurozone GDP last quarter. Well, those were some of the biggest stories in the business week. They're coming up in a moment. After this break, our focus is on the 2024 fiscal year and the understanding around the 2024 budget and its impact on business operations and the outlook for growth in the year. Let's stay with us in a moment. Thank you. If you're just joining us, you're watching Business Week, coming to you from our studios here. Let's get into our conversation for today. In what appears to be a New Year gift, President Bola Tinubu on Monday, the 1st of January, signed the 28.78 trillion naira budget for 2024 into law. Speaking at the signing of the appropriation bill, the president assured Nigerians that the implementation of the budget will be efficiently pursued and vigorously monitored. According to the president, all the institutional mechanisms shall be held to account in ensuring diligent implementation. Perhaps this is one of the most convincing and assuring words from a sitting president in a long time. But how does these words of assurance translate to sustainable growth for the economy? But that's the biggest question of the day. So, but let's get talking now. I'm joined by Mr. Oladipo Ajayi, Head Fixed Income at Chapel Hiddenham. He joins us virtually. Thank you for joining us. Let's begin with these on this note. The expectation for many is that the president needs to align this budget of Renew Hope with his economic reforms and plan. How do you think the 28.78 trillion naira budget for 2024 will impact Nigeria's economy and its citizens, particularly looking at the government's plan to maintain January to December budget cycle?
Well, for me, I think for the budget, I have a mixed feeling around the budget, and some of my concern comes from some of the inputs to the budget, and I think my first concern falls from revenue expectation. I think it sounds bullish to me, and one of my reasons is why when we benchmark our daily production at 1.78 million barrels per day, and we know our average in the last 2 years, I'm sure we are producing up to like 1.35 million barrels per day as average in the last 3 years, and it called for concern for me. Of course, I know that we are currently very close to 1.5 million barrels. And so I think that we're bullish in terms of expectation in terms of productions. And another thing to me is the fact that OPEC currently capped us at 1.5 million barrels. And we are currently projecting 1.7 million barrel daily production. And so it's a big concern to me. Is it that we are looking at towing the line of Angola and actually working out of OPEC to be able to actually meet and produce above the quota allocated to us, or we are going to sit on the table with OPEC again to actually readdress this. So these are some of the concerns that comes to mind when it comes to the budget. Another key thing for me is that the oil benchmark for the year is around 77.96 cents and $77.96, and currently we saw oil actually traded below that price in the last days, and so it simply means that there's no headroom to our pricing, and it gives me concern. And coupled with the fact that it's a year where we're expecting that the economy could go into recession. I mean, global economy in terms of some countries, as expectation is that their economy is currently teared up. So it means that demand for oil may not be as much as we have actually projected. And what that will mean is that we will see price drop. And I'm not sure we actually considered this in our projection. And we're expecting a revenue of around 19.5 trillion this year. So these are some of my concerns to the budget. But what actually excites me more on the budget is our allocation to capital expenditure. And I think this is about the first time in a long while that we allocate about 35% of the budget to capital expenditure. So it gladdens my heart that the government also understands that we need to actually improve in terms of providing infrastructure. And just like what you have mentioned, that there's a lot of things that the government is also doing in terms of power generations. They mentioned about 2 trillion capital raising to actually further develop that sector. Currently, we know that players in that sector, they are heavily leveraged and they don't have capacity to actually provide new funds to actually further actually distribute power. So it means that we need more investment in that sector. And I can see that government also understand that, and these are some of the things that actually excite me in the budget for 2024.
Well, you talked about the revenue projection target of 18 trillion in the 2024 fiscal years earlier. Are you saying this is impossible, given at the fact that, there are quite a lot of contending economic issues? Are you saying this is impossible to achieve?
I think it's a tall order for me, and because you and I agree with our current OPEC allocation is 1.5 million, and I think 1.55 million barrel per day. And currently we are actually budgeting around 1.78 million barrel per day. Did like over 200,000 daily productions above what we actually allocated by OPEC. So I still don't understand how we want to navigate that, and that's one of the reasons why I feel that our revenue projection is actually very, very bullish. And the end goal of some of these things is that the effect of some of these things is the fact that if we fail to actually meet our demand in that respect, or meet the target there, it simply means that government will need to actually resort back to the borrowing to actually meet the budget. And so does it mean that the government will likely come back to the market, come and increase the expected borrowing on the market, or the government will actually resort back to the ways and means which some of us actually criticized as a method of actually raising funds by the government?
Well, let me bring in the business community here. Of course, quite a lot of businesses have been feeling the impact of the reforms that have been ongoing in the economy. But how do you see businesses adjusting to taking advantage of this budget, and how is this likely to impact on their operations going forward?
The first thing that comes to mind for businesses in the year 2024 is efficiency. The businesses have to run efficiently in the year 2024. And we all understand that the cost of running businesses is actually going aggressively up, and because of the inflationary pressure. And but on the flip side is that businesses are finding it very difficult to actually pass all the costs to final consumer, and so as a result of that, a lot of businesses are taking some of the costs. We saw what happened in 2023. So it means that going into 2024, most businesses need to find a way to actually operate efficiently, and most of them will ended up resorting to the use of technology as a way to actually reduce cost, and so as to actually operate efficiently in the year 2024. And just like what you mentioned earlier on, the government of their own part, they are trying to put many other things in place where business that will help business actually operate efficiently. We mentioned the fact that our government actually allocated about 35% of budget for capital infrastructures, and this is going to be more into road network. This is going to be more into power. This is going to be more into infrastructure that could help business to actually thrive better in the year 2024. So the other sport of most of these businesses to actually look at a way to actually capitalize on some of these things that the government is actually providing, to actually leverage the opportunities so as to be able to produce at a cheaper rate than what they are currently producing. And the good news for me is that I think 2024 is going to be a better year when it comes to FX. I think we're going to see more stability in Naira. So it means that it would help the volatility that the currency created in the year 2023, which actually affected business badly. Most businesses will be able to plan in the year going into the year 2024 because we expect FX to be stable in the year 2024.
Well, I know there are mixed feelings about the budget allocation to some sectors such as health and education, but talk to us. Are there key sectors of the economy you think will feel the impacts of the budget in a positive way?
I think that there's still some mixed feeling in the budget, like I mentioned earlier on, because when you look at the allocations to the educational sector, it's just 3% of the budget, and that's just about 857 billion that was allocated to educational sector. I feel that a country that wants to grow aggressive needs to actually ensure that more funds are actually allocated located to the educational sector. And I think that we didn't do more right in that sector. I think the government should have done better than what we saw. And also, when you look at the health sector as well, just about 2.3% of the budget, that's about 667 billion, was allocated to the healthcare sector. And we've seen a lot of things that are happening in the time past. We saw how Naira was under pressure. Just as a result, a lot of people going outside the country for medical tourism. It seems that we are not learning very well in this regard. I expect government to actually, aside from creating an enabling environment, government needs to also invest aggressively into the healthcare sector. We've seen a situation whereby in a country of ours where we've seen huge migration of medical practitioners outside the country. So it simply means that the government has not fully learned very well from what has happened in the past. When I look at the allocation to this sector, I think we need to do more in that regard. But another thing also that for me that I think mark my mind is the increase in the recurrent expenditure. Recurrent expenditure has been increased to about 8.76 trillion. So what this means is that compared to the 6 points, I think 6 point, a little above 6 trillion that we did last year. So it simply means that the yearnings of the Nigerian Labour Congress has been heard by the government, and the government has actually factored that into the budget of 2024. What this will mean is the improved real income to Nigerian workers. It also means that the capacity to consume on the part of these people has actually improved by the new budget. It means that we expect government to actually raise the minimum wages and also be able to actually pay workers better than what they did in year 2023.
Well, a few things before I let you go, Mr. Oladipo. So there seems to be a lot of optimism in the air as regards the performance of the economy in 2024. Of course, you spoke earlier of how that there will be some level of stability in the FX market this year, which means the value of the Naira will strengthen. But what is your outlook as regards the impacts of government's reforms on the balance sheets of these businesses or companies in 2024?
Yeah, for me, I think the first, the key to me is the ability to actually raise money in the markets. And a lot of business want to expand them, and most of them don't actually get long-term funds from banks. So most of them will likely want to resort to capital market to actually raise funds. And when you look at a budget deficit of over 9 trillion, and where majority of the funds, over 7 trillion or close to 8 trillion will be raised in the local market, it simply means that we will likely see a situation whereby the government will be crowding out the local market and make it very difficult for private organizations to be able to actually raise money in the local market. A lot of people, of course, will give preferential treatment to government borrowing than local borrowing because of the risk-free nature of government securities. And so I think this is one of the key hindrance that the 2024 budget will have on the market. And so even some of the big names that will be able to actually come to the market this year, they may not be able to actually raise funds at a cheap rate in the year 2024 because when government is borrowing over 7 trillion in the market, it simply means that when an average corporate is coming to the market to raise money, they may end up actually paying north of 17% to actually raise long-dated money in the market. And for me, I think this is a big challenge for the year 2024. And we've heard from the central bank governor where he mentioned that the first half of the year, they expect the monetary policy to continue to be more of like a contractionary policy. They expect an aggressive policy where they will continue to tighten the economy. And we all understand because when you look at how inflation figures have been operating in the past months, it simply means that we may need to actually further tighten aggressively so as to be able to actually nip that on the board.
Well, I think a good place to let you go now. Thank you for your time, Mr. Oladipo Ajayi, Head Fixed Income at Chapel Hill, Denham.
You're welcome. Thank you very much for having me on.
All right, you've been watching Business Week, and that's our show for this week. But just before I let you go, let me leave you with the breakdown of the 2024 budget assigned by President Bola Tinubu. Well, thank you for your time, and that's my time. I am Frank Malape. I'll see you again.